My name's Allison Rogers. I am the editor here at Collision Repair Magazine.
And my name is Max Reed. I am the staff writer here and also the co-host.
So we've got Fadi Smaidi of SkillsTrader here today with us. You want to give a little intro here, Fadi? Thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thanks for the opportunity. My name is Fadi, CEO and founder of SkillsTrader.com.
Awesome. So you got lots of experience in the collision repair industry. Do you want to give us a brief rundown of your history here?
I do, yes. I used to be a multi-store operator in the Edmonton market. I used to own 3 body shops out here. I was a VP of marketing for one of the national banners. So this was all about 3 years ago. And I worked very closely with Nate on their steering committee on how do we attract more students to this trade.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Absolutely. And we've got Edison here as well with us. I think he was having a bit of technical difficulties, but Edison, if you're here, can you just give us a wave or a hello?
Or a weird frozen face.
That's okay. I think we've just got some technical difficulties here, but we'll just kind of start rolling with the questions. Hopefully Edison can get things sorted out. Alrighty, so just to kind of open things up, we'll start with just a question for Fadi. Obviously, we've been going through a lot in the past 12 months in the collision repair industry. Things have been pretty hectic everywhere in the world. But pre-COVID, what was the state of the skills trade market? I mean, specifically the Canadian automotive collision repair market. We know there were some shortages, but what did the general landscape kind of look like?
Yeah, so I mean, in general, it's no secret that there is a major labor shortage in our trade. We do have a gap there that we have to try to fill. Prior to COVID, you know, across Canada and across the US as well, it didn't matter where you went, finding, you know, high quality technicians that have the training to keep up with the advancements is a challenge. Obviously, COVID has slowed that down a little bit in the Canadian market. A lot of the shops that we work with are, some of them are, you know, back up and running depending on which market that they're in. And some other ones are still, you know, sitting idle waiting to get these economies reopened and get their people, you know, working again. But in general, we still feel there's still the sentiment in the industry is that, you know, we need some skilled technicians to come in and fill in this labor gap that we have.
Absolutely.
Speaking of skilled technicians, Edison is with us now. So yeah, Edison, do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, sure. Sorry about that. I had to move spots. My Wi-Fi wasn't good. I'm Edison. I'm an apprentice in autobody as a technician. I come from a background of mostly automotive stuff. Started early as, you know, as a kid with my dad working in the shop. From there, it continued into, you know, high school where I took autobody and mechanics, and then just doing stuff at home. And now, after high school and completing my first full project as my one car is repainting the whole car as my high school project, I am now doing another project building a 58 Fargo Power Wagon. And that's me in a nutshell, really.
Right on.
And you're currently working at an auto body shop too, right?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. So just
right on. Okay. So this next question is directed towards both of you now that everyone's all here. Could you just talk a little bit about how the idea of the job search has changed in recent years? And maybe as well compared that to how it's changed during the pandemic. What would you say is the number one aspect that young people are looking for these days in their careers?
What were you looking for, Edison, when you started out?
I was looking for a place that, you know, was welcoming. You know, they were good people that you'd want to work with. You know, a shop that was, you know, well organized, clean, that you know, it wasn't a mess, or, you know, there was just stuff scattered all over the place and you're always looking for something. You could have a, you know, your own clean area to do your job efficiently and effective, and and not wasting time on searching for the screwdriver you just had in your hand 5 seconds ago.
Absolutely. Right. When it came to looking for, something that would, I know that when we talked before, you mentioned that there were some other ideas that you had in terms of a career and what you wanted to do. But when it came down to it, automotive was something that really intrigued you because it would be something you're happy doing your whole life.
Yeah. I get a fair amount of joy out of, working in the automotive side of things, whether it's autobody or even mechanics. I like the hands-on type of work, and seeing when you're doing the body work on a car, just kind of seeing it come back together from whether the fender was caved in, and kind of seeing it come back and rolling out of the booth all nice and shiny. And knowing that you did a good job on it, it's for me it's pretty rewarding.
Mm-hmm. So I know, Fadi, in discussions specifically at CCIF last year, we discussed the idea of high-paying wages and how that's not really the main driver for people anymore. I mean, obviously a paycheck is what keeps us alive, but a lot of young people are looking towards a career that is more rewarding and fulfilling. Could you speak a little bit to that and how it fits into the collision repair industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just to echo what Edison's saying, I think the landscape is changing, and it has to change a little bit. The newer generation that whether we're in high schools or whether we're in vocational schools across the country, we notice that this younger generation is looking for a bit more balance when it comes to their career. So yes, of course, money is important. We all have bills to pay, but being part of a team and a company that's going to help foster a different culture where they're going to help them achieve their goals, their long-term goals. This new generation is really looking for that. They really want to be part of a larger picture. When you ask the question, Max, about what are some of the things that are changing, I think the question of where does somebody want to be in their career at the end, I think is really important to have some of those conversations at the beginning when Edison or someone like Edison is coming into a shop, really being transparent with the shop owners of where it is that they see themselves. So like that, the shop owners can actually help them build that roadmap to be able to get there. And usually that exercise will give a good indication of what the culture looks like in a company. So yes, this newer generation is looking for a bit more work-life balance, and offering them different incentives than just money was a big hit for us when we were growing our teams.
Absolutely. So if you're a collision repair business owner this question's directed at Edison. If you were a collision repair business owner looking to hire someone in today's market, what would you look to offer people that are young people that are attracted to your business? So when you walked into a shop, what was sort of the first things you noticed? I know we kind of touched on cleanliness and whatnot, but what were you kind of looking for as flags in the shop, like red flags as to this is a good place or maybe not such a good place to work?
I think mostly is like when I, first walked in the door, not only to the shop where I am at now, but at a few other shops. It was just walking in and, the seeing how, welcoming the people are in the shop. I think that was a big key thing, because if no one really wants to talk to you, it's like, well, if you're going to work there and they don't want to talk to you now, do they really want to talk to you then later? Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of like the big thing was that there. And then, just talking to, the guy that runs the shop, if, what he's like, and if you get that, feelings like, yeah, I think I could work with this guy or whoever it may be. And then, it's kind of like how they run the place, if, it's like, yeah, we just do whatever, and, it gets done whenever, or, is it, step by step, we got to do this, and then that before it can go here or there kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. So it's a lot to do with the people. I mean, nowadays, for you at least, you wanted to go into a place that you knew that the people would be not only willing to take you under their wing and help you out, but be friends and teach you new things. It's kind of exactly like Fadi was saying, you know, the work-life balance.
Yes, exactly.
Cool.
Okay. So I guess a little bit the same.
I'll just add to that if that's okay, Max. I just
Yeah,
think
we were
it's-
just gonna
I
ask
think it's
for
important. Yeah,
Go
no, I
ahead.
think it's important that, you know, what I think what Edison is saying as well is, you know, how do these technicians out there find these cool and well-lit shops, you know, well-equipped shops with the right training and with the right equipment? You know, shops have to do a better job at promoting themselves so that they can attract this talent, right? So he's looking for a place that's clean, that's well-lit, that's well-organized. Well, a lot of people are. So if you're a company out there that has that kind of facility, it's important to promote that so that these people, so that the technicians out there can see your operation and actually make an educated choice on saying, man, I didn't know that there's a shop down the street that looks like this, that has these tools. You know, I might want to go work there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay. Moving along. Yep. Okay. So we've been talking a little bit about in our preparations for this a little bit about the idea of shop culture and sort of fostering a shop culture and transparency and things like that. So Fadi, could you talk just a little bit about the importance of sort of keeping a good shop culture and environment?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, when we did some of these changes, you know, a bit of background even further back, I was new to the automotive world 8 years ago. You know, I got into this trade by accident. I come from a hospitality background and a business background. You know, I ended up falling in love with the industry and with the opportunities and the growth in it, which is why I got more engaged around it. But we made little changes in our operations that ended up working really well for us. You know, including my team in some of the higher level decisions and having some transparency on the health of our business ended up being a really key factor in our success. So, you know, one of the things that I used to do at my shops is I was very transparent with our books. You know, it was important for my team to understand when the company did well, how well we did and why we did well. And if our company, you know, had a rough month or a rough quarter, it was important to know that we had a rough month and a rough quarter, and how can we improve that? So that little change ended up, you know, being great for me, because then all my teammates started understanding how important it is to take that sandpaper and work it out just a little bit more. You know, how important it was to return those clips if we didn't need them, you know, to hit those KPIs on, you know, OEM versus aftermarket parts. All these little things that, you know, as shop owners, we carry. A lot of times we carry them alone. It's a lot. There's a lot of different things that happen in a shop. So, you know, it's important you give that to your team. And if your team understands where you stand, then they can help achieve that. And the ones that don't want to help you achieve that, you don't want them on your team anyways. They'll end up leaving or not being part of it. So that was a big one that we did. Language was a big part of my culture in general. I think language is important, and we all know, you know, it's changing in body shops, but sometimes the language can be a little rough. One of the things I didn't call workstations a stall. I used to call them an office. And when I got into the trade and maybe a little uncomfortable, you know, my stall. Man, what if we called it an office, you know? And slowly, the ones that thought I was silly for calling it an office ended up either quitting or got fired. But the new ones that would enter my shop, it was one of the first things I would say. I said, do you have an objection with me calling your workstation an office? No, I don't. Actually, I think it's pretty cool that it's called an office. And guess what? Offices are a bit more organized. They're cleaned at the end of the day. And so, you know, language is important. Inclusiveness is important. And also fostering growth, right? Understanding where my guys wanted to be and getting them there not only was important for us, but it was also important for our shop and for the industry. So, you know, we had 3 people come through our operations that went from, you know, apprentices and that were in the trade for maybe 6, 7, 8 years and completed their journeyman, because it was important for us, right? It was important that we push that. So a lot of shops are doing that, more now, which is good. But we still got to be better at, completing that roadmap of, finish what you start.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I mean, John Shoemaker in the chat here has a point. He said, we're spot on with this generation. Absolutely. They're looking for a path. If you can give an apprentice a 5-year growth plan, then they're going to work to that plan and they're going to benefit overall. And exactly like you said, Fadi, like if you're transparent with people and, give them the exact requirement, the exact description, put it in front of them. This is what we're looking for. This is what we expect. They don't like it, they can walk. And we're weeding out, the so-called bad apples of the industry, per se. Potentially, I'm not going to make that bold of a statement, but there is, that chance. So obviously, we're seeing tons of technological advancement right now. Everyone's much aware of this. But what sort of, I know SkillsTrader focuses a lot on, training your company. So what courses should the technicians of tomorrow be focusing on, or what tactics should they be focusing on if they want to secure these, top opportunities in these shops? I know it's a little bit more regional based, but.
Yeah, it's definitely regional based. So you're absolutely right. The technological advancements that are happening in this industry has been happening for the last 5 years. Has been unbelievable, the steps forward that the vehicle's taken. So I think that's an advantage. So we just got to be able to promote that, and that's going to help attract new people to the space. But when we look at training, very differently inside SkillsTrader. What we try to do is we try to look at training in every geographical region. So certain regions will have different demands than others. So if I take, for example, Toronto, you have a big EV market. Understanding the EV vehicle is probably a course that if we were to recommend that to a technician, it would probably make them a little bit more competitive in that market. If I recommend that course in Alberta, probably not, the course that would make him more competitive. It maybe makes him a bit more competitive, but in general, if I was to direct them towards aluminum welding, for example, and we looked at, all the F-150s that are coming out that are aluminum, that's a course that's in high demand out here just because of the demographics that they're in. Same thing if we look down south, right? Different areas will have different needs. So as we start to grow and collect more of this information and work with more schools and industry leaders out there, we start to really understand that every region has a different demand. We take a look at where somebody is in their career, and we try to guide them to what would make them more competitive in that space or in that area, right?
So as a business owner, would you suggest offering courses like that to your technicians based on, those sort of edges in each market? Would that be something that business owners would look into introducing to keep not only your technicians on their top talent, but attracting new talent?
Yeah, I mean, look, the shop owner has a lot of challenges in general. There's a lot of demands on them, and there's a lot of challenges out there that they constantly have to adapt to, and training is one of them. And there's risks to training, right? I've had both situations. We've had the situations where, I agreed to training a technician, and the second the training was done, they moved on. And then we've had the other situations where, we agreed to the training and they got the training and they stuck around. So I'm kind of the mindset that if you're better off training your people and them leaving than you not training them and them staying, right? There's a lot of responsibilities that come with fixing these cars. There's a lot of liabilities. The customer is a lot more educated. They have a lot more information before. I mean, I remember in my shop, they used to come in essentially with their estimate in their hand. Oh, I saw on YouTube. So the customer is a lot more educated with tools right now, and they're being sold these advancements when they're buying these cars, right? They're being told that the car drives itself, has lane departure, has all this other stuff. So when they are in a collision, they actually want those features back to where they were. So it's important that your facility has the tools and the knowledge to put that vehicle back. I mean, it's a bit repetitive, but yes, right? But it's challenging for the shops. It's expensive. We get that part, but there's programs that you can put in place with the technician that, they absorb some of the cost. I absorb some of the cost. I absorb some of the cost. If he hits it and he stays after, 6 months after the training's done, we can relook at compensations. There's some creative ways that you can do to engage the professional to train. But it is important, I think, to keep up with, it's what's going to separate the good shops from the masses moving forward.
I mean, Edison, perhaps it's too early to tell. We know you're planning on going to school in the fall, but if you were to walk into a shop and they were to present you with all of these training opportunities that Fadi is speaking about here. Sorry, I think someone's phone is ringing here. It says it's mine, but it's definitely not. Sorry, whoever that is, if you have a phone ringing, please mute. Anyway, perhaps it's too soon to tell, but if you were to walk into a shop and they were to present you with all the opportunities here that Fadi is speaking of, would you be like, wow, I'm definitely more inclined to work here, as opposed to a shop that maybe wouldn't mention those opportunities?
Yeah, I would be more inclined to work there. You know, the way, you know, I've heard through some of my friends, you know, they said being where I am now, even, you know, a few months after I started, I've done more than what they've had done than what they've done, you know, working there in a year or more. And so I think working at a place that has those opportunities is just gonna, you know, better yourself, better your skills. It's, you know, it's gonna make you more of a desirable person to other people. Even if you weren't going to stay at that place, you know, until you retire, let's say you move to another town or whatever, that those people that realize that you have all these skills and knowledge and what, they're gonna want you to work for them.
Yeah, exactly like Fadi's saying. Yeah, great. Awesome.
So if I could just add, never mind. It's okay.
Go ahead if you want to. But...
No, I was just gonna say, like, you know, we do have a major labor shortage in our trade. So the pandemic was terrible for a lot of people, including the automotive industry across North America. You know, when things shut down, people are not driving. There's no cars accidents. There's no tires being popped, etc. However, you know, on the other side of this thing, right now there's an extremely high unemployment rate of people that would potentially not be unemployed right now. They would be employed if it wasn't for the pandemic. There's industries out there that have been completely reshaped. We have an incredible opportunity in the automotive space to attract a lot of these people and these professionals to our trade. The bulk of the ones we talk to, or survey or interview, training is always a big part of it, because they are coming from other verticals where training is almost mandatory, whether it's oil and gas or, you know, safety tickets in construction. So some of these professionals are looking for other opportunities. When our economies reopen, the automotive trade in general has a really positive outlook. People have moved farther away from city centers, so there's going to be more driving. We have an incredible opportunity here to attract a really large segment of the population to the trade of automotive.
So, I mean, this kind of leads into our next question, Max, if you want to go for it.
Yeah, so just thinking about big picture and whatnot, where do you see the job market heading in the next 5 to 10 years when we think about this labor shortage?
Where do I see the labor shortage, like what the job market looks like?
Yeah, in the next 5 to 10 years. I mean, obviously it's hard to predict, but
yeah, no, well, we do have some numbers around that, and you know, I hate to be doom and gloom here, because a lot of these shop owners go to the CCIFs and go to these vision groups, so they know this stuff. But the industry needs 46,000 fully trained technicians by 2026. So this is to fill in the gap of what's leaving the industry. So when I go to schools or vocational schools or NAITS or wherever this world, the first thing I tell students that enter the automotive world is congratulations. You know, if you're good at what you do, you're going to be in high demand and you're going to have some stability out there, but you got to be good at what you do. So there is, it's real. The labor gap is real. So there will be a high demand for technicians. We just have to do a better job, or continuing doing what we're doing to try to attract and create some awareness around our trade. And part of that is showing some of the successes that are happening in our trade. You know, we know a lot of successful people in automotive that have done really well. We have to be able to promote and celebrate these people and these wins, because this younger generation, they look up, they're looking for career paths that's going to make them, give them some stability in their life. So telling someone you're going to become an accountant doesn't sound, when you have all these accountants that are graduating and don't have, job opportunities, or they're getting into these entry-level positions. You can go into a trade school, leave with less debt, and pretty much guarantee yourself coming out of there with a job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we talked a little bit about the pandemic's effects of the job shortage and whatnot at the beginning, but I know, have you seen people that were maybe on the brink of retirement, just kind of, for lack of a better term, throwing in the towel, just saying, I don't really want to deal with this whole situation that's going on right now. I'm going to set for an earlier retirement. Have you seen that happening?
Yeah, we've seen that accelerate. Yeah, both in Canada and in the US. So, folks that were on the edge have just taken this opportunity to say, you know what, perfect chance to just, step back and look at something different, right? Mm-hmm. So it has been, we all thought that after the pandemic, there would be this huge, abundance of qualified techs or new techs apprentices coming in, but it's actually, from what we hear, is a little tougher.
Mm-hmm. So we talked about what the industry needs to do, promoting the success stories in our industry. And I mean, organizations like CCIF, I mean, we were just talking about SEMA beforehand. They do a great job of that. I mean, of course, they've been online recently, and we're crossing our fingers for SEMA in November. We were just chatting about it on the call here before we went live, but
Vegas, baby.
Vegas, exactly. Yeah. So, kind of leaning into that whole online training aspect, this wasn't something that we talked about before, but do you know anything about enrollment rates, and are students still as interested in going to online school? Like, I know there's still some hands-on portion, but has that kind of affected?
Yeah. So the largest trade school that we're partnered with is NATE, and they're the largest in North America, have record numbers for automotive for the last 2 semesters here.
Oh,
so wow. Their numbers are up big time. Yeah. Yeah, so definitely the opportunity is there. We just got to capture it, right? The opportunity is there. We just got to capture it.
Absolutely, yeah. So those were all the questions we really had for our main portion here, guys. You can feel free to ask any Q&As in the chat here, but we're going to just kind of launch into some more general bonus questions in terms of hiring technicians and stuff in the industry. So thank you so much for all your wisdom there, Fadi and Edison, for being part of it. But we're going to continue on with this Q&A here. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. We've got one already from Belagansh and Noor. Do you think technology is going faster than the tech skill level, especially with EVs? That's a good question. Mm-hmm. So do you think that, I mean, we can target this towards Edison. I mean, I know you haven't really been probably hands-on with EVs or anything like that then, but as a young technician that's entering the industry, does the amount of technology present in today's vehicle kind of intimidate you? Does it scare you a little bit, or does it make you go like, wow, I really want to get more into this?
I'd say a bit of both. It's pretty cool what they've done in the last 5-10 years with the technologies in vehicles these days, and how they've come so far along. And it's just another thing I think people would be interested in learning, is like, not everyone's going to know what to do and how to work on these vehicles, but I think eventually we'll all have to. That's the way where it's going. And I think it's gonna be mostly computer courses where, I know a computer course is like 3 years, but by the time you get to the 3rd year, your first year of knowledge is almost obsolete. That's how fast it's moving. But we just got to do what we got to do to keep up with it, and keep on top of the game. That's what we got to do, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think technology is moving faster than the skill set. That's without a doubt. I remember having conversations when I was going through my certifications and all this training that we had to go through to get going. I remember saying that I think the body shops of the future won't be able to service all the brands. You know, you're going to have to make your bed and live with those choices. So, you know, if you're going to be a Ford or a FCA shop, then that's what you're going to be. And if a Nissan shows up, you're going to have to send it somewhere else. If you're a Toyota shop or a Honda shop, it's getting, not that the shops can't do it, but the requirements for the training and the technology and the tools that are required to do the work, it's kind of a daunting, you know, it's a big hill to climb for shops to get 3D measuring systems and scanners, and it's hard to get it all. So some of them will be able to do it, but I think if you're like anything else, you know, we're seeing people wanting more specialized. And so if you're more specialized at something, then you can be more efficient at it, be quicker at it. And, you know, it just becomes routine versus trying to, you know, tackle everything, especially with all the changes, because it's moving so fast.
Yeah, and I know Max and I in our conversations with shops recently too, we've been hearing a lot of that, like OEM certifications can be different one day, different the next. Like things are changing constantly, and you know the technology is new every day. And again, on your point with the OEM certifications, I've heard the same sort of idea, but with ADAS calibration centers. So collision shops a lot of them can't offer these same services in-house. So there's going to be a new sort of business pop up. I think Frank Turlip was the one that made that estimation after John Marlowe of Level 5 Drive here. I gave that prediction. All right, we've got a couple more questions here too. Want to go for that one, Max, there?
Yeah, we've got a question here from Karina Martinez. She's asking for any tips for hiring technicians in rural Ontario, or well, remote areas, but yeah.
Yeah, anywhere rural really, but does anyone have any tips on that?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can jump in because we have some clients that are in rural areas all over the place. It's always a bit more challenging than the big city centers, for sure. So again, I think if you can have a compensation package that includes a little bit more than just you know, a number of money. Okay, so if you're living rural, it's probably a little less expensive than it would be to work and live in Toronto. Right. So I would totally hop on that. I'd be like, look, you might be making a little less over here, but you know, the housing markets here is a little bit less. So in general, shop owners have to go a little further to capture this candidate that they're going to want. And they're going to have to step out of the traditional interviewing process of having an interview and having more of a, you know, a macro look on, you know, what this role is going to look like. Giving them some stability, you know, maybe highlighting the contracts that you have, and maybe because you're in a rural area, you're the only, I don't know, I'm making stuff up now, economical shop. Okay, so great, you know, like that's an advantage. So that would tell somebody that if I'm coming out there, you know, I'm the only one, or if I'm the only body shop in a rural area, you know, we service 4, you know, large dealerships, etc. So try to highlight some other features to attract people out. And again, look at this pandemic, people are leaving the big city centers. So I think there's a great opportunity here. People are looking for more space. They're looking to leave the hustle and bustle of driving, whether it's be working from home. So I would say it's probably maybe a little easier now to attract people in rural areas.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to bring that point up. That's an excellent point. I mean, regardless of what city center you're near, if it's in Alberta, Calgary, Alberta, if you're in Winnipeg, Manitoba, anywhere in those sort of rural areas, they're kind of blossoming out as people don't have to go to the office anymore. And the work from home shift transforms the landscape. All right. And finding those niches to really market yourself. I think that's an excellent point there, Fadi. So John Shoemaker has another point here. He's saying technology is actually expanding the gap in technician need. Older technicians do not want to take the training required to address technology and are leaving the field. So yeah, it's twofold. It's not only the pandemic, it's, you know, just the pressure of new technologies and stuff.
Yeah, I'd like to hear Edison's, you know, take on why he wants to continue to train. And I think I know why, but it's nice to hear it directly from the horse's mouth. But that is a fair comment. You know, some of the older technicians that I was told once that I wanted to send one of my techs for aluminum training when Ford had just introduced the F-150 out here in Alberta. I wanted to convert one of my shops to a strictly aluminum location and load level the rest of the work with the other 2 locations. And he told me there's enough metal on the road for me to retire. I don't want to learn aluminum. So you can imagine that, didn't end well for him. But Edison, like, what is it that pushes you to want to be better? Like, why do you like to train?
I think it is mostly to just know more about what's out there. Whether it's, I like knowing not just about vehicles and all the stuff that they have built into them, but just, other random things. I think, if you know more about it, it's like I said, it's going to help you with your work. If you're not taking the opportunities, you're just limiting yourself to one small area, and eventually it might even become obsolete. I mean, eventually maybe all the vehicles will be aluminum or some kind of composite. And if we're not, expanding our knowledge on those areas, we're just going to limit ourselves on those areas.
So I think you're genuine in that answer. And what I think I'd like to point out here is, at no point did he mention that if I train more, I'm going to make more money.
Absolutely.
Right. So it really is the sentiment of this generation, is that what else other than money can you give me? And that's because we've lived in a very comfortable time where they're able to think like that, right? We all come from different generations where, we had different needs or different, things that were waiting for us in the future, whether it was marriage or buying a home or buying a car. This new generation is not necessarily going to get married at the same age that we all did. Maybe they won't buy a car. There's shared car economies now, right? They're living in centers, or they're Ubering it, or they're doing, these shared cars principles. Maybe they're not even going to buy a house. They want to be more mobile. So all these big expenses that we were looking at are not necessarily in front of them. So money is a cheap commodity, actually.
I mean, if we're being honest about it, but yeah, I totally agree. Like, it's so clear with Edison and other technicians that we've spoken to in the industry that the passion is what comes first. It's perfect. Yeah, just excellent to know that that's the truth here at the root of the industry. But John Shoemaker, again, he's getting chatty up in here. He says, I encourage students and apprentices to take some business courses so they can understand how a business works and when KPIs are shared, so they can relate a little bit more than a couple hours per day can make a difference to business. So yeah, just more on that transparency note, like it's important. It is interesting. Edison, as a young auto body student, would you be interested in looking at something for business courses? Or I'm not sure what your path takes you, but if you were ever looking to be a business owner, that's something to consider, I guess.
Yeah, it's always something to consider, I think. I never really, thought about it too hard, but, if there's an opportunity, maybe one day I'll take it. It kind of depends on where things go in life. We can't have one direct path. Things do change, but just having, I think if an opportunity comes up, I think, not only me, but, everyone should, take it if within reason as well. I don't think I'm going to take an opportunity and move halfway across the world kind of thing. But, if it's within, reason, I think, you should always take the opportunities that come up for you.
I mean, consider them with a grain of salt. And then if it seems like a good idea. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I think business courses, sorry, Edison, to cut you off, but good for you. Like taking business courses and understanding, how the business works is not only a tool for your toolbox, but it's also a tool for the company that you work for as well, right? Because you can make decisions back there, because you're actually taking business decisions for the body shop every single day when you're in the back. You're deciding whether to throw the sandpaper out now or take it a little further. You're deciding to spray out a spray card or not spray out a spray card.
Oh no, I think we lost Fadi there. Oh no, that's okay.
Wait, Edison,
Oh, Sorry, I think we're having a couple technical difficulties. But yeah, I mean, I have another question here for Fadi, so hopefully he's able to join. We wanted to get him to explain a little bit more about SkillsTrader here. Sorry about that, guys. Technology. I mean, we've been on Zoom for a year, but somehow it still seems to fail us at times.
Edison, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Yeah, so
out of my own curiosity, what was your favorite course to take in when you're going through your training? What's like the coolest thing?
I think what I thought was the coolest was I really like the paint and refinishing side of the course. As I mentioned earlier, in high school, we kind of there was a autobody course, and so we kind of did of everything. So we got our feet wet with not just first year stuff, but even fourth year stuff, and one of my projects was actually doing my own car in the school, and when we painted it, and the next day after it dried off and rolled it out of the booth, and coming out all shiny, it was just really, really rewarding and made me really happy, actually. And then having other people compliment on hey, it looks really good, and it brings happiness to me.
Mm-hmm. Right on. I know you mentioned your restoration at the beginning a little bit, talking about what you're working on. When we were chatting on Facebook, but I'm not sure a lot of the viewers got to hear it. So what are you currently working on? What restorations on your docket right now?
Well, my car is always one of them. There's always something I got to do with it. But the restoration I'm doing is with my dad. We're doing a 1958 Fargo Power Wagon. They're essentially this same thing as the Dodge Power Wagons. They're the civilian version of the military trucks used in World War II. The Fargo name is a Canadian only vehicle. They were back before World War II in the States, but after World War II, they were Canadian only. And we kind of, a couple of years ago, we kind of pulled out of a bush. It was a friend of my dad's who got us in contact with the guy who had them. And so what we're doing is my plan is to keep it looking to original as possible, but with some modern upgrades. We're going to put in the drivetrain and engine from a 92 Dodge diesel. My plan is to drive it on a daily basis. Even drive it through the winter. I see people that build a car or whatever, and all it does is sit in their garage and collect dust, and I don't think that's quite right, but that's them. I'd like to
have a Dodge Dart 64 doing just that in my garage at home right now. So yeah, but that's amazing. So just everyone's got their eye out for that. We plan on sharing this news in Bodyworks, an upcoming issue, and Edison's aware. So we really want to get the word out about this one. It sounds like a really neat restoration. So thanks for giving us some info on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're welcome.
And we've got Fadi back on the line here. So I know Zoom kind of gives us some technical difficulties. Sorry about that, everyone. But we've got one more question here. Hey, Fadi, but thanks for joining back here.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
I just wanted to finish that thought because it's
Absolutely
important about business, just about business. The technician in the back of the shop is taking business decisions every single day for the shop, right? So knowing, what those decisions, how they impact the business is extremely important. So some of that business training that, the schools offer, EI, the Blue Seal in Canada, it's really, I think it's an asset that a lot of professionals that are looking at advancing, it's a great tool to have in your toolbox to be able to go to your, to the shop owner and say, look, I just finished some business training. I'm looking to become the foreman. Because it's not just about managing people, it's managing the business. Mm-hmm. And if you eventually want to own a shop, knowing how the economics of the shop works, very important part, because you are taking business decisions every single day for the company. As a professional or anybody working for any company, actually, you're taking business decisions that impact the financials of the company.
You're holding some of that responsibility. Absolutely.
Correct.
To close things out here, we've got one more question from Dex. He wants to know, he or she, sorry about that, wants to know if Fadi can explain a little bit more about SkillsTrader and the platform. They're very intrigued. They want to know more. So could you just give us a little rundown about what SkillsTrader does?
Yeah. So we're obviously here to help the industry get a little better. So we do have a heavy training component to our platform where we help technicians in the trade access training. We help industry leaders that give training promote their courses. So if you're an industry leader out there, like some of our partners, whether it's PPG or Exalta or anybody out there that offers training, and you want to promote your training, this is a kind of a targeted audience. And for shop owners, we operate a job board as well. So companies, post jobs and technicians are able to apply. But all that stuff is found on our website. So
absolutely, yeah. So I think that wraps it up for us today. But thank you so much to both of you. We really appreciate your wisdom being here and giving feedback. And I hope that all of the shops appreciate all of the wisdom that you gave us, giving us a lot of information to work with today.
Yeah.
Thanks for the opportunity. This is a lot of fun.
Absolutely. We've got some thank yous rolling in the chat here. So thank you guys. Yeah, thank you to the audience. So Fadi, again, if anyone wants to know more about SkillsTrader, be sure to check out the website. And Edison, we wish you all the best on the restoration. We'll be checking in with that soon, as well as your school endeavors. So thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. This was a Media Matters production. If you liked what you saw, check out our other videos, follow our socials, and subscribe for more.